Now, India is the perfect test case to set up a rental housing scheme on a mass scale, given the shortage of low-cost housing projects. But while the developed world has successfully implemented rental housing to cater to the segment for whom property buying is out of budget, India is yet to find success in rental housing. Nikhil Narayan Sivadas finds out why.
Talk to any average home buyer in Mumbai and it's clear that buying a home is simply not an option. With home prices skyrocketing, renting is the only choice left. And this is fast becoming the norm in other major cities. But why is there so little focus on creating rental housing stock by both the government and the private sector?
In India, you get yields between 2 to 4%. However, your capital appreciation on the real estate investment is 10%. So basically, whether it is Mumbai or pan-India, it actually does not make a business sense for the investors to get into this sort of a business initiative.
This causes a problem, especially when you consider that rental accommodation is a cheap and effective option for large metros which have a huge floating population. That's not all. Experts say enabling rental housing is also a practical way for the government to reach its goal of housing for all.
We have a shortage of 2 to 3 crores in the big urban centers of India, 2 to 3 crore housing units. I do not think it's practically viable to construct all these units and offer them on ownership basis. It's just practically impossible.
Globally, countries like Canada, the USA and certain European nations have clear-cut policies and financial incentives for rental housing schemes which have proved to be a big success. In contrast, the few attempts by government agencies in India have not done very well. Experts are calling for the government to formulate compelling financial incentives to get private developers interested in rental housing.
It could have something like, allowance of REITs to hold real estate assets of rental housing. It could be something like allowing a minimum benchmark or a minimum threshold people who actually buy. It could also have a mechanism like rent to own, where people could initially rent, they could partake a mortgage or a housing loan and then eventually buy.
Experts are also calling for a revamp of the country's Rent Control Acts, a move that will help property owners in the vast informal rental housing segment become formalized and reassure private players who feel that current laws are too one-sided in favor of the tenant.
Whenever there is a structured approach that is brought in by the government, it has a cascading impact on the private players itself. I think one of the things that will happen in rental housing is that we will have an international player coming into rental housing who have done projects of rental housing, say whether in the US, Europe or Middle East, because they will have a good understanding of how the overall financials and the preferences of the consumers work.
The good news here is that the government is considering implementing a national rental housing policy. Now, if this goes through as planned, then soon you will see rental housing schemes transform the very nature of Indian real estate. From Mumbai, Nikhil Narayan Sivadas, NDTV.